You know, when I think about the time I stopped believing in the story, I don't think about brands. I think about 2008. I think about my mum losing her job. I think about how we lost our house, how we had to stay in a B&B. And whilst I was watching the news, I was seeing politicians talk about how we're in a financial crisis. What stayed with me wasn't the word crisis. It was the word rescue. Because whilst families were being evicted, one message that was being reported over and over again: the banks must be saved. Not the people, the banks. And that's when I finally understood something that took years to fully articulate. When the system collapses, it doesn't protect you. It protects itself. As we know, the 2008 crash wasn't random chaos. Financial institutions had been packaging risky mortgages and then selling them as stable investments. When the housing market failed, those investments imploded. Governments responded by injecting trillions into financial systems in order to stabilize them. Homes were lost. Savings were wiped out, jobs disappeared, but the institutions, they survived. That tells you something fundamental about power. Power is not who suffers. Power is who gets rescued. But if we zoom out, 2008 is just a modern version to a much older pattern. Before banks controlled debts, empires controlled the land with law. In 1493, a papal bull known as Inter Caetera laid the groundwork for what was later known as the doctrine of discovery. It declared that Christian European monarchies could claim land inhabited by non-Christian people. The logic was devastatingly clean. If you was outside of their legal framework, your sovereignty did not exist. Later, the principles terra nullius, land belongs to no one, was used to justify the seizures of territories in places like Australia, despite indigenous populations having lived there for tens of thousands of years. This wasn't accidental misunderstanding, people. It was legal by design. Law was used to transform inhabited land into empty land. Empty land into properties, property into capital, capital into power. And once that structure was built, extraction became normal. First land, then labor, then the resources. The logic didn't disappear when formal colonialism declined. It evolved. Control shifted from flags and soldiers to contracts and credit, from empire to finance. When my mum lost her job in 2008, it wasn't colonial law that hit us. It was financial dependency. We didn't own land. We didn't own any assets. We depended on wages and rented spaces. And when wages disappeared, dependency became visible. That's when you realize something uncomfortable. If your security depends entirely on a system that you do not control, you are not sovereign. You're positioned inside someone else's architecture. Now, I want to be clear because people try to simplify arguments like this. So let me be clear now. Again, this is not about hating white people. It is not about supremacy. It is not about segregation. You know, my partner is Romanian. Her country experienced dictatorship, economic collapse, and then mass migration after joining the European Union. Millions left. They were told that opportunities lived in the West. They worked in construction, agriculture, cleaning, and even transport. Highly skilled people operating below their qualifications. A different ethnicity, but the same structure. When labor flows from the periphery to the center strengthens. When skilled people leave permanently, the homeland weakens. They did the same to my grandparents when they were called in the Windrush generation from Jamaica to England. Same model, different ethnicity. What I'm trying to say is that the structure stays the same. That's not racism. That's economic gravity. And the fact that she loves me and respects my culture and I respect hers proves something really important that I want you guys to get. Sovereignty is not about separation out of hatred. It's about strength without dependency. Two sovereign identities can coexist with dignity. Absorption is not dignity, and dependency is not unity. What 2008 showed me was this: the system is designed to stabilize capital before it stabilizes the people. The doctrine of discovery showed that sovereignty can be erased through legal language. Terra nullius showed that entire civilizations could be declared invisible in order to justify ownership. 2008 showed that financial institutions will always be protected, even when they fail. The pattern becomes consistent. Control of land, control of capital, control of credit. If you control those three, you shape the future. If you don't, then you're just adapting to somebody else's future. This series is not about anger, it's about clarity. Episode 1 exposed psychological control through consumerism. Episode 2, I hope it explained to you legal and financial control. Next, we're gonna look at education, not as inspiration, but as a structure. Because if schooling systems were designed to produce labor rather than ownership, that changes how you see everything. This is not about leaving tomorrow. It's about understanding where power sits and asking whether you're building your own sovereignty or feeding somebody else's system. That's the shift. And we're only 2 episodes in. So stay tuned.